Hi. For 11 years here at our church, we had a school, the Waterford General Baptist Academy. Now, in the state of Michigan, they started charter schools, and many of the people that we would have brought into our school started choosing to go to the state-run private schools instead of going to the Christian the Christian schools. And so it got to a point that we had two types of kids in our school. We had the extremely devout, and then we had the kids that the charter schools and the public schools just would not take. Now, guess which ones I spent the most time with? That's right, those that, well, were the hard cases. Now, I liked them. I'd joke around with them. I would be there for them. But you know what? We had teacher, we had school secretary, we had principal, but I was the chief school administrator, and everything ended up landing on my desk. And if one of these students ended up in my office, well, guess what? I was the one who was expected to take care of them. You know, some of those kids ended up going back to public school, and they did very well. They went from being failing students to, well, honor roll students. Some of those kids, however, they're not with us today because they made poor life choices that whose path was already set before we even had an opportunity to see them. Some of those kids went on to college, and some of those kids went on to be dropouts. You know, there's one thing that I learned in teaching those kids is that, well, is basically this fruit of the Spirit as I read through that. And I think how much of those things we had to exercise and trying to deal with those children and trying to bring them to a higher level of education, to bring them to a closer walk with God. We read in Galatians chapter 5, starting with verse 22, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. You know what? You have to be patient. You have to be calm. You have to, you can't go yelling at the kids just because you're angry at them. Okay, now that's my experience there. But when you look at the fruit of the Spirit, those were all attributes of Christ. God only puts up with so much. He only put up with the children in the wilderness for 40 years. He only put up with Israel, the northern kingdom of Israel, for 750 years. He put up with the nation of Judah for about 900 years, but he came to his breaking point. But you know what? For every student that ended up in the world, we ended up finding one that went on to do great things. So the fruit of the Spirit is very important. And it also becomes part as we grow in Christ, we become more like Christ. That's my thought for today. God bless.